This is Colin Dixon at IBC, and I am with Kurt Michel, who is Director of Product Marketing at Akamai. And Kurt, you just gave me a really interesting description of where you are migrating your network to fix some of the problems that we see, particularly in video delivery, but generally in delivery on the internet. So you talked about 4 pillars of innovation that you're looking at. So why don't you talk about those 4 pillars?
Okay, well, Colin, what we understand today is that we're delivering content and we're doing it with a network that's broadly deployed. But in order to deal with the scale and performance and throughput requirements that we're looking at going into the future, with things like 4K ultra high definition video and larger audiences wanting to watch video all the time, we know that it's time to start thinking about getting the client, the endpoints, to participate more fully in how to do the network more efficiently. And so what we've done is we're creating a toolkit of services or solutions that address a number of the different problems, because there really isn't a one problem, one size fits all solution. And so the graph behind me is actually showing 4 different types of technology that we're looking at. The first one is what we call hybrid HTTP UDP protocol. And what that does is it improves on the throughput that's offered through standard TCP by leveraging the UDP protocol to be able to send content faster, especially in the situations of packet loss or lower throughput type of connections.
So one of the big savings there, of course, is HTTP is sort of a request and then an acknowledgement. So by a UDP, you don't do that, right? So is that how you get the big efficiency, because there's no waiting for the acknowledgement?
So that's part of it, right? The UDP doesn't use sort of the acknowledgement protocol, but you still have to be intelligent about what happens when something is lost and how do you get that content down. And so there's a higher level protocol, and that's why we call it a hybrid HTTP UDP protocol. It's a combination of technologies and forward error correction that can be used together to be able to increase the throughput on these high latency, lossy types of connections.
So you put the control plane on the HTTP, that's the conversation about sending the video, say, but you actually send the video using UDP.
Exactly. And so the throughputs can be dramatically higher.
Much higher.
Yep.
Now, one of the other areas of innovation is you're already very deeply present in the network. You go very far to the edge, but you can actually go further by actually being on the clients or in the house itself. Sure. So talk about that. Okay,
so other technology that we can use is we could set up basically caching in your edge router, in your home router. And we can use something called intelligent prepositioning. If we know based on your behaviors, say you've watched a particular show first 3 episodes, it's highly likely that you're going to watch the 4th or 5th. And so we can look at situations where the network is at low utilization rates. We can deliver that content to you in advance. But from your perception as the user, you're still going to click the same play button, but underneath that, the client technology is going to serve it directly from the local cache, just like it would serve from the local cache if you were going up to our edge server, for example. So it's an efficient way of basically extending the network, if you will, so that the end devices become a part of the network as opposed to being connected to the network. They become the network. And that becomes a far more efficient thing to do.
So if I've watched episode 1 and 2 of House of Cards, it's pretty sure I'm going to episode 3, so you can pre-position that.
We could pre-position that. And a House of Cards, that's a really good example, because the original content's in 4K. And so streaming that at the quality level that you really want, that's something that pre-positioning would really help.
Now, another area that actually, if you're close to the client like this, you have an opportunity to make really efficient is live delivery. One of the problems with live delivery, of course, online at the moment, is that it's all unicast, which is very inefficient in delivering a broadcast type experience. But you're doing some work on multicast and using your network for multicast.
Yeah, so that's an interesting aspect. why Multicast hasn't been deployed broadly across the internet is because the internet is a number of standards and it works pretty well, but it's hard to get everybody to agree on, let's do multicast a certain particular way. What we can do, because we have the Akamai Intelligent Platform and it's broadly deployed around the globe, is we just have to have the intelligence between our edge server and the endpoint, and then we can manage multicast in those smaller segments of the internet that have to deal with that. And by having the endpoint communicate directly with the edge server to understand what multicast content is available and how to get it, we can make that happen in a way that would be almost impossible if you were just using the standard internet without an Akamai platform there.
And the great thing about doing it that way is the client doesn't know anything about the multicast, so you don't have to worry about that. It's actually done to the node that the client connects to.
Right, so from the player's point of view, you're still clicking the same play button on your device. It's the software that resides on the endpoint, on the user device, that's underneath that. Maybe it's associated with the operating system, or it's a layer underneath the application that communicates with the Akamai network. But it's not something that the higher layer player has to think about. It's all transparent.
So when are we going to start seeing these exciting features deployed in the Akamai network?
So we're working with a variety of candidates and people who are doing some testing and things right now. And what we see is we're looking at how we're going to deploy each of these pieces of the toolkit. So I think over the course of the next year, we'll be seeing some interesting things happening.
This is cool stuff, Kurt. I can't wait to see it in the network, and hopefully the rest of the show is great for you.
So far it's been great, and it's been great talking with you, Colin. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. This has been Colin Dixon with nScreen Media.